I was just blown away by the amount of grace and forgiveness and love. As I've seen all of you give each other, and it's really inspiring. And I think it's very rare. I don't think that there's a lot of families that go through what you've been through and then have other members join later, and it all works out. I've never heard of it. I'm sure there is. I'm sure they're out there, but I just want you guys to all know that. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional, but I just think you're all like just incredible people. Like the work you do and the way you treated me and Jonathan is just amazing. It's actually miraculous. I think miracles have happened in this family, and I hope that people will listen to the podcast and see that and be hopeful that if we can do this, if we can get through this, and you can get through this, and you can do it, that you just have to take it. I think Michael said earlier, one step at a time. Just take it one step, and then if you can't make it another step, pray, and then take the next step when you can.
Hey everybody, welcome to Push Each Other to the Top podcast. I'm Jonathan, and you might recognize, or maybe you don't recognize, a lot of people here. Some of you that are family might see it, someone that you know. But hey, we're super excited. This is going to be a different kind of episode. This is a family get-together, and it's been so fun so far. We've had a little time before we started recording here, and I just love it. I'm so glad that everyone is here today, and I'm going to turn it over to Dad to give us an intro and tell us what's going on today.
All right. Well, hello, everybody out there in podcast land. This is really fabulous for me to get my family together. And, we focus a lot on our addiction and what we go through. And, every addict and alcoholic out there is like a tornado. I talk about this quite often. It's like a tornado going through people's lives. It just destroys so many relationships and so many lives. And it was the same for me. I when I was drinking and drugging, and even in the beginning of my recovery, building these relationships back have taken a lot of years. Now, we got Michael and Randy who experienced this firsthand with me. And as a result of their work and everything, we've been able to put together and repair our relationships. I feel like super, super close to everybody, because of me not picking up a drink and staying in recovery and doing all the things I've done throughout these years. We've been able to welcome Jonathan and Leslie into our family and get to know them as well. And it's all a result of, doing the 12 steps and going through this process, being honest and real. They know my story. Stephanie's experienced all of it. She's kind of the start of us getting together. And, I talked about that in one of the other podcasts, the DNA podcast, about how Stephanie used to taunt my mother and scare the heck out of her. I can hear her right now. Stephanie. But I just think it's so cool that when you work really hard, because I'm getting emotional. When you work really hard in recovery, in the beginning, I had no idea that I could ever repair my relationships with my family. And I just came into the program to stay sober. I didn't, these weren't the things that were on my mind. They just seemed so far away. I had no hope for that. And the end result is it's been a beautiful, beautiful experience going through what we've gone through. And we talked about doing this episode Michael and Randy kind of got, they kind of had some pushback, and they don't want a lot of, their laundry thrown around, and and that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to bring up a whole lot of ugly things that happened in the past. We're here to talk about, moving forward and being able to repair those relationships. And as a result of those conversations, Michael and Randy, we both have had, probably an hour or more on the phone together. And what's so beautiful is we can be so honest with each other. I mean, we can talk about how we feel, what's going on. I mean, there's nothing off limits, and that's the beauty of this thing. I think honesty is really the key to being able to cultivate these relationships. And so I kind of want to just get everybody involved in this conversation. You know, Randy Randy lived. Randy's the oldest of all the children. I don't think I've got any older. I would have had to be 14 or something. But anyway, so Randy got to experience a lot of this stuff in the beginning, and got to see. She probably saw me drunk more than anybody else in the family, other than Elaine, of course. But so, Randy, if you ought to just kind of talk about, your experiences with your work and what you've done to get to where you're at today, and our relationship and stuff. I just like the people out there to understand that it hasn't come easy. We've had to do some work. We've had to get honest, and we've had to have some really serious conversation.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. That's quite a thing to jump into, but we it was hell at times. And I'll be honest. It was really hard. It was difficult. But I will say, out of all the hurt and out of all the pain, for you and Elaine to go and get the help that you needed and that you got, set the foundation for us. Because if it wasn't for the two of you being the example and showing us the way, I looked up to Elaine so much. She's like my mom, she is my mom. And she showed me how that she was getting better, and how the things she was doing and the things you were doing, and helping me find a therapist and helping me get into counseling and things like that. And so, it was a lot of work. It was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So sometimes 1 step forward and 3 steps back. We went back and forth for many, many, many years. So it was not an easy path necessarily, but you guys showed me the way, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So, and because of that, I had to, you were an example, but I had to put the work in too. And I had to be vulnerable, and I had to put myself out there, and I had to feel these feelings that I didn't want to feel, and I had to face them. And then gradually, over the years, you and I have been able to have some serious, heartfelt conversations that have been very healing. And I think just being able to have that safe place to be able to tell you, this hurt me, or I went through this, or I went through that, just being able to talk to you about it, and how I need my dad, and how important it is. And that relationship just continued to grow. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
That's one of the things that's so important is we've had to have those conversations. And I think in a lot of families, when tough stuff is brought up like that, it ends up to be an argument and things like that. We don't argue about all this, you know. I know Randy has told me a lot of times. I talk about this is if you're going to have a conversation with somebody, you talk about your feelings, how you feel, because nobody can argue with your feelings, you know. And if Randy comes, I just think that we have a way to talk to each other about hard things that make it possible to keep from arguing. You know, we don't fight. We don't get defensive. We don't push back. We listen to one another and we're honest. And yeah, you know, when I hear those things that I did in the past, a lot of it, I think, you know, I don't even remember doing those things, you know, and, you know, I have to take responsibility for it, and it stings and it hurts. But the truth of the matter is, you know, that being uncomfortable and feeling that pain is really the catalyst that open up the conversations that we can have, honest, open conversations without arguing. You know, arguing's never going to solve anything, or anybody being a victim. You know, I didn't ever feel like he came from a place of just being a victim and your life is this way because of this, or you know, I just, for whatever, I think it's a blessing that all of us are that way, and we don't play that victim role, if that makes sense. So Michael, what's kind of your experience with that as well?
I mean, yeah, everything Randy said is spot on. There was really difficult times, but like you brought up in the beginning, that's not what the focus ought to be, because as much as Horace would hate it, saying that it's hard. It is hard. It's hard to get through. But I think what Horace maybe was trying to get to is that the concepts are simple. The path is a simple path that's laid out. That it's up to you. The task is on you. And it doesn't just mean you, Dad. It doesn't just mean me. It means all of us individually. You know, we're not putting just on you. It takes all of us. It takes a group. And you've said that. That's the name of the podcast. We push each other to the top. For me, when I look back on everything and then compare that to where we're at now, there's nothing in the world that I wouldn't trade to have the relationship we have today. And that doesn't mean it's perfect. That doesn't mean that everything's sunshine and roses and that we don't go through difficult times still. This is the choice you made that day, Halloween. What was it, 1988?
Yes.
The choice you made that day, regardless of how difficult it was or what you knew or didn't know going into it, is the greatest decision you could have made. And I hope that anybody out there listening just understands that it's just one decision today. You have one decision to make, and it's today, and it's now. And that decision can change your whole life. It can change everything that you could have imagined being possible. And you threw yourself into that. You threw yourself into it fully, more than fully. You know, I'm hearing things on this podcast as we're going through, and thank you, Jonathan, for taking the reins here and pushing this to where it's gone, because it's amazing to hear Dad's story, but it isn't this thing that that we should just be looking at and praising him. It's praising all of us. You know, we've all done it. Leslie, you've helped give Randy some comfort and strength, and we've found strength in each other, and we continue to find strength in numbers. And I just think what is happening through this podcast and the work that you put in, Dad, is just incredible. And there's times that I wish we could have had back, or that I wish things had gone differently, but that doesn't matter. There's no point in living in regret. And Leslie and I have even talked about this. I don't want to hold on to what was, and you've mentioned that, Dad. We don't want to hold on to what was and dwell on it and fall deeper into those times that were miserable. But finding the strength, the courage, and the power to move forward together as a family. And Leslie and I had a good conversation the other day about not holding grudges, because what good does it do? You know, We've all done things in our past that we may regret. But what are we doing today? Who are we trying to be today? How does dad treat me and my family today? That's what I have to look at. I won't forget the things that happened in the past, but they aren't the primary focus. It's dad cares about me. He cares about my family. He wants to have a relationship with me. And that wouldn't have been possible had he not stepped through those doors and made that decision. And so just circling back around, no matter how dark you think the path is, or how miserable or how bleak anybody might think it is, just take that first step. Step through those doors. Finding recovery brings miracles that you just can't fathom could be even possible, because I didn't think what we're doing here today is something that could have been possible 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because like I tell you, it was a process. There was a process, and I'm sorry I get long-winded. I share the same DNA as my dad, but it was a process. It was a process, Things weren't just, hey, he stepped through the door and life was good. But by no stretch of the imagination was that even remotely true. It was a process.
Speaking of Michael, your mother and I got you involved in Alateen in the beginning of our recovery. And do you remember some of those experiences?
Yeah. So there's this really cool group. So I don't know how many people know about the different types of groups out there, but there's Al-Anon, there's AA, there's a bunch of different ones, but there's this Alateen group, which teaches you as a child. And, I'm a little kid. I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, going to these meetings just like my mom and dad are. And they're leading by example. And we went to these meetings, and we, they kind of, I don't want to say dumbed it down. That's the wrong term, but they fit it to where we are. They met us where we were as kids, right? We're little kids. So we went through simple things in the beginning, from like, let's share as a group what we call them sunups and sundowns in Alateen. And the meetings went just like an AA or Al-Anon meeting, where, you read through the 12 steps, 12 traditions, but then we got to share what our experiences were for that week, because we'd go once a week, maybe more than that sometimes, but it was just sharing some positive things that happened and some negative things. And then we'd pick a topic on what we were going to talk about after that went on. But it helped develop the same tools that mom and dad were developing to help themselves and to help each other. And so we developed a lot of those tools. I learned to take responsibility. I went, you grow to this point where you do start to work the steps as a little kid. And I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity, because then it's not just, mom and dad go to these meetings. I don't know what they're doing. I lived it. I went to it. I saw what the process was. There's probably times when I was a kid when dad was getting out of hand. I said, Ted, you probably need a meeting. Things would get rowdy at home or whatever might be going on. But I started to understand the power of the people that were in that program that helped push each other to the top, because I did it too. And it's given me tools to function in my own life, to help raise my own kids, to help develop boundaries for the people in my life, friends and family, to help move me forward. And I have a lot of work to do still. It's not over, but I'm so grateful that you gave us that opportunity to go to those meetings and to be a part of that and see what it was all about and learn from that. Because as I've listened more and more into the podcast, it's like reminders of things that I learned and I experienced, and it's helping me today. So.
And you guys grew up in that AA community too. I mean, that community of, we talk about push each other to the top, and there was always people around in recovery. When you guys grew up, there was always this big, it was like a big family that we all hung out. We all did things together. We camping together. We watched basketball games together. We just did a whole, almost constantly there was people over at the house and that were in recovery and were working the program. And so you got to experience some of that, you know?
Yeah.
Steph, do you have a lot of recollection of a lot of this stuff when you were growing up?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that I have a unique position because you were like 3 years sober when I was born, but it doesn't mean that as soon as you were sober, you were healthy. So I
wasn't?
think, yeah, you were, it was 89, 88, or you said, oh, you're joking. Oh, I missed it. Sorry. No, but obviously just like growing up, I got to have a front row seat to your healing process and how our family has healed. And that's been really cool. I've been, one step removed from it. I wasn't there, in the really bad years, but, there were times where it was like, I had to watch my mom put boundaries up with you and, to protect her and to protect us and watching, just that struggle, but then getting to see the healing. And then I think both Michael and Mom both mentioned that, Grandma has done a lot of self-work, watching you do a lot of self-work. And I think that set a lot of groundwork for our family, because we were just talking about this a couple months ago, like, why do we talk about such deep things? Because there's people I know that never talk more than the weather. And I'm like, how can you not? I said, who started it? And I said, I think it was Grammy Lane who started it. Just like opening up and being okay to talk about our feelings and stuff. So, it has a generational blessing of the hard work that you're doing has now, blessed our family, and then will bless my kids, and they get to have a relationship with you. And if you hadn't have done that hard work, one, I don't think you would be here. Or if you were, we definitely wouldn't have the relationship we have now. So, yeah, over the last 30 plus years, I've got to have a front row seat to just the person you've become because of the hard work you've put into it. And even though Leslie and Jonathan were results of the crazy years, they are such a blessing now. So, and it's just so cool to see like a full circle moment of how, truthfully, like, I don't know, it's just your healing journey and then getting to pull them in when you're your best version of you, which is really cool. So get to watch.
I think you just said something that's vitally important. I hadn't really thought about it, and it's a generational thing. I didn't realize the impact goes on and on and on. For whatever reason, when you said that, it was just like, wow, that's just another one of those little nuggets, those little jewels that we get as we go through this work. I hadn't really thought about that too much. I guess it was always in the back of my mind, but boy, I just think that's so powerful to think that, the work that we do, it gets to be passed on to your kids and to Michael's kids and to Leslie and Jonathan's kids. It's generational. And I think this whole process and really Jonathan and I in the beginning talked about how, if nothing else, if nobody else listens to this, our family is going to be able to have this recorded and we'll be able to talk about this, or you'll be able to pass it on and say, this is the kind of stuff that we did. And this is the kind of stuff how we worked through these problems and issues. I know that it had to be pretty uncomfortable for Leslie when she first met us and started hearing my story. The one thing that Leslie and Jonathan really have in common is their religious background and their religious beliefs and being LDS and stuff. They don't drink, they don't smoke. They say they don't swear, but I don't believe them. But
We never said that. That was never said.
I heard that. Remember, I grew up in Utah, so it's a little different there.
It's a little different.
So, what was it like, Leslie, when you first kind of started hearing about our recovery path and some of the things that we've been able to accomplish? And
Well, it was a little bit shocking. I know I went to one of your meetings when you got a coin. I can't remember what year. I think it was your 30th anniversary.
Right.
And I will admit, with my background and everything, walking into an AA meeting, everyone looked very scary. And I felt very out of place. But when everyone started talking and I could see the point of all of it and how everyone was so happy for you. And I felt a lot more comfortable. When I talked to Randy and Michael and you about things that have happened, my heart, like, first of all, I start thinking, well, why did Randy have to go through all that and I didn't? Like, that doesn't seem very fair. And in fact, I was saying that to Dale. Sorry. I apologize. I was saying that to Dale just the other day. I'm like, Randy, like, she went through it. I listened to the episode about her stepfather, and like, that just seems so unfair. But then I've talked to Randy about things, and she says, you know what? A lot of the things I've gone through has made me stronger and made me the person that I am today. But I kind of feel like, I don't know maybe if Jonathan feels this way, but I feel like I came into the play at the last act, where you guys had done all this work and you were just amazing people. Michael and Randy were so welcoming to me. Like, you could have totally rejected me and said that's you were in his past, like that was a mistake, and just rejected me. And that would have been, within your rights to do that. But you didn't. Neither one of you did. And I think that the work and the program that you guys did is much more than just recovery. It's like, especially like what Stephanie said, you guys have all learned how to talk about the tough stuff. And that is not what most people do. So I feel very lucky coming in at the last act and meeting these wonderful people that I thought I would never meet. I never thought I would meet my father, and like, even thinking about siblings, like, that wasn't even on my radar. So I feel incredibly lucky, and you guys have taught me a lot about grace. Michael, when I talked to him on the phone, he shared with me some of the things that happened to him, and then he just turned around and said, how much he doesn't hold grudges. And how much he loves you. And I was just blown away by the amount of grace and forgiveness and love. And I've seen all of you give each other. And it's really inspiring. And I think it's very rare. I don't think that there's a lot of families that go through what you've been through and then have other members join later, and it all works out. I've never heard of it. I'm sure there is. I'm sure they're out there, but I just want you guys to all know that. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional, but I just think you're all like just incredible people. Like, the work you do and the way you treated me and Jonathan is just amazing. It's actually miraculous. I think miracles have happened in this family, and I hope that people will listen to the podcast and see that and be hopeful that, yeah, if if we can do this, if we can get through this, and you can get through this, and you can do it, that you just have to take it. I think Michael said earlier, one step at a time. Just take it one step, and then if you can't make it another step, pray, and then take the next step when you can.
Right.
Absolutely.
And this is a result, this conversation is a result of over 30 years of really hard work. So I think that's important to remember too, is that, there's people in our life that struggle with addiction and struggle with their relationships, and they think, oh, well, they're doing better for this week, so then it must all be better again. And that's not always the case. And so this is, 35 years of really, really, really hard work to get to this point. So
That would be 36.
36 years. Thank you. Sorry.
It's coming up.
There's some narcissism peeking through there.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
He's our favorite one, though. Our favorite narcissist. So
It's a room. Don't believe it. Leslie, that was very touching. Thank you so much for your words. I sit here with you and Jonathan here, and how much love that we all have for you guys. It's incredible. Our family is so powerful with the love that we have for one another, and how willing we are to push each other to the top, to really want all of us to be successful. It's nice to see you put your guard down a little bit and get vulnerable. I think that we hide behind some of our sarcasm from time to time. I understand that. I know I knew that was coming. I was trying to get ahead of you, but I knew it was coming. So, it doesn't feel like I don't know. It feels so natural for you and Jonathan to be in our family. I can't even explain it. It's like you've always been there. It just feels like you've always been there. It's not like there was it wasn't the last act. It was just always there. And so it's an incredible feeling to have you guys. And Jonathan, you've been, Leslie and I, when we first met, I think we talked on the phone for the first 2 days for like 2 hours each day. And we had so many questions, and we hit it off. And I felt so comfortable right off the bat. And Jonathan and I were a lot the same, but as time went on, I think we kind of just got into life, and we didn't really talk that much. I always felt close to him every time I saw him or talked to him. It wasn't like I had any feelings one way or the other, as far as, I didn't want to talk to him. I wanted to be around him and stuff. And I've always said that I wasn't going to be pushy, and I was just going to let the relationship kind of blossom and go its own direction. And, seeing that Jonathan and I live close to each other, we were able to hang out. He invited me to go to church and spend Easter with him and dinner and things like that. And we started talking. Him and I started talking about, Michael and I have talked about doing a podcast or doing something, writing a book or something about my experiences. And Jonathan and I shared some stories, and he was just like, "What? You did what?" And so this idea came up, and he just went to work and stuff. So I really want to thank Jonathan for putting this all together. And Jonathan, he just feels the same, man. The love there, and the feeling. Somebody the other day was listening to the podcast. They called me up, talked to me, or maybe it was Chaz that was on the podcast, said, "You guys even sound alike. You can't even tell who's talking in the podcast." So DNA, I know all of you got your good looks from me. I can see that. That's real evident. Some of the things that I get blamed for, I just think it's from your mothers. I can't take blame for all of that. Mm-hmm. Leslie tries to nail that on me. The attitude that Sophie has, the attitude that lot of the siblings have. It's not Stephanie. It's one of them.
I've got a mini me at home too. It's come straight from you too. So
Yeah, so here we go.
keeps going.
But Jonathan, you want to talk to us a little bit about your experience with this whole process?
Yeah, I just it's been amazing. It's such a blessing in my life. You know, I think Leslie understands, you know, from early age, I just wanted to meet my family, my biological family. Like, just imagine that day, imagine meeting. It was my mother, actually. That's the one that I was really keyed in on. And so when your name popped up on the DNA, I was like, oh, yeah, a father. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's true. Yeah, there would be a father. And you know, got connected to Leslie, and she just walked me through it so graciously and so kind, and I'll just never forget that. And then, you know, meeting everyone was, even just like Leslie said, I think even before we started, it just was so comfortable. It just was so amazingly, we just had this connection that was there, and it's just this awkward, wonderful, cool thing of like being so connected to someone and yet not really knowing who they are, but yet being comfortable with them at the same time. It's this mix of all those things, and there's just a lot of love there too. And I agree with Leslie. It feels like, you know, I have such the blessing of coming in this last part of this family and being able to reap the benefits and the blessings of all of this. It's so amazing. You know, I recognize in your story, Dad, the parts of me that need the 12 steps. You know, I don't have an alcohol problem, but I still have things that I need to work on. And I think Michael and I even talked about this, where it's like, you know, this is good for anybody at any time of your life. And I just so love that. I think it's so applicable to your life, whether or not you're an alcoholic. But yeah, so hearing these stories from you was just amazing. It's just, you know, my dad, who I grew up with, who raised me, he would talk about Vietnam. He served in Vietnam, and God protected him there, and I got to hear all those amazing stories, and is still such a hero in my life. And then God decided to bring another father in my life that has just amazing stories as well. It's incredible. I think I told Randy, I said, you know, only God can turn such a hard thing into such a blessing. Only God can do that kind of work. And that's what I believe. And so all this has been such a tremendous blessing to learn and to recognize, like, oh yeah, I get kind of mean or grumpy, you know, and this is how, you know, I might be able to resolve that, and, you know, stuff that I've been working on for a long time. And so it's been just a blessing in my life all the way around. So yeah, I'm just honored to even to be here. Just that's how I feel. So thanks.
I think it's understood, and listening to both you, Jonathan, and Leslie, I think it's understood through the stories that are told. But I just wanted to say, I love you guys so much.
Right back at you.
You know, this is family. It doesn't matter how it's made up. Family's family, and to be able to support each other the way we do, no matter what comes our way, is pretty incredible. And you guys are just part of it. You just fit in. It feels right. It feels normal. It feels comfortable. And plus, we get 2 more people to defend us against this old man. So
Yeah, 100%.
That's right.
no, I love you guys. I love you so much. This is, man, it's so crazy to me how long we've known each other already, but how short it seems, and And just like Dad said, it's like you were never not there in some weird way. Like, we're connected at a deeper level, and you know, it's something to be said for DNA, but even more so what Jonathan was saying, this is God stuff. You know, we're connected at a much, much deeper level spiritually than I think we realize or that science can explain. And you know, not to get too far down that path, and I know that's not where you necessarily want to go, Dad, but I just think that we've all been open to these possibilities and love and healing, and it takes that. It takes people being open to change. You've said it a million times, Dad. Nothing changes unless you change what you're doing, right? You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Nothing changes unless you change. And being open to that change and that possibility and that love and that hope, it's what brought us all together. We didn't have that. We didn't have that hope. And then we didn't put in the work, and we weren't open to loving those people that had harmed us, but also loving ourselves. I just don't think any of this is possible. And it took big steps from all of us just every single day. And this is beautiful. I love you all so much.
No.
I love you too, Michael.
You know, I have a question for everybody to kind of get the audience to hear some stuff out of each and every one of you, as far as if you could say one thing out there to help people about family, what would that be? What do you have a suggestion, or how does that all start? Start with you, Randy.
Yeah, one thing I didn't say at the beginning, which I'm kind of surprised I didn't, because this is a huge part of my healing, is my faith. My faith in God, and knowing that He's going to get me through it. And I think the biggest thing is forgiveness. Have to forgive. I've been forgiven, and I have to forgive. And I'd say it starts there. I
like
forgive, and I don't say I forgive and I forget. I forgive and I remember.
Yeah, that's important.
And that it's going to be okay.
Right.
So, the forgiveness. Yeah.
Steph, what would you say?
I would say that boundaries save people. And so as a family, having healthy boundaries for those who are that are I don't know what the correct terminology is, healing on their journey. I don't know the right terminology, but just, I think having boundaries, I don't think that people can get better if they're enabled. So I think it's the most loving thing to do is to set the boundaries, but then being okay with the reconciliation. Because I think that's been the biggest thing. Having the boundaries and then being open to forgiveness and reconciliation as you heal, as we heal, that kind of stuff. So does that make sense? Yeah.
Not really, but I get it. What would you say, Leslie?
I think communication is huge and important, and to understand where everyone's coming from and understand your own feelings and why you're feeling them, and being vulnerable enough to talk about it with the people you love. If you're, I believe in one of the podcasts you were talking about how anger is, maybe it's not your podcast. I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but it talks about how anger is not, it's just the first emotion, but that's not what's under it. Why are you angry? Why are you upset? Like you have to break down those walls and figure out why you feel how you feel, and then talk to the other person in a helpful way so that you can work things out. And I think that's a big thing that everyone here has done. We don't have weekly phone calls, but we do communicate. And I think if someone had a problem with me or I had a problem with them, I would certainly, I would share it. But especially if dad did something. But I think we talk through things, and we
Shoot, we're missing some of your
We
audio.
lost your sound
Sorry
somehow.
about that.
my thing fell out of my ear. I'll get my
There you
other
go.
one too.
There, we can hear you now.
There you
I was just saying, basically, I was saying that, like, when dad is an idiot, I'm just kidding.
Here we go.
There
No.
we go. That's what we've been waiting for.
No, it just
Let's
we
leave that.
give each other the benefit of the doubt, but we communicate how we feel to each other in a respectful way.
Yep, I think that's really important. Communication's a big part of it. And you did hear the anger stuff from our podcast, maybe from other
Okay.
podcasts, but we did talk about
Yeah.
anger. So yeah. Michael, what would your suggestion be for people?
So I think I definitely agree with everything everyone said. I've talked to all of you, I think, about this at some level. I think I've shared a story, which, Dad, I don't know if I've shared the story with you fully, and but I'm going to share it, and I'll try to be brief. But what it stems around is kind of a conversation I think, Dad, you and I had last week sometime, where when we were talking about this whole recovery thing, I think we were talking about the podcast, that you can't help anybody until you help yourself. And the thing that always pops into my head when I think about this is you get on a flight to go somewhere. Randy, you might not understand this, but because you don't want to get on any of those, but you got
I do.
the flight attendant. I know you've healed some there, I guess. She has a major fear of flying. I think Dad mentioned that in other podcasts. But anyway, when the oxygen masks come out, right? They give that story, that whole speech. Put your oxygen mask on first. You can't help somebody else until you've helped yourself. You don't have the oxygen to breathe. How the heck are you going to make sure someone else does? So take care of yourself first. Dad talks about cleaning up his side of the street. So, and along the lines of pushing each other to the top, I'll share this brief story. There was a moment, I think I was 9 or 10. I was talking to Leslie about this the other day. I was 9. I had to be 9 or 10, somewhere in there. And I don't even know what happened. I don't remember what I did. I don't remember what upset you, Dad. And it doesn't matter. That's not the point. I got yelled at pretty bad. And I felt horrible about myself. And I just felt like you hated me, that you just couldn't stand me, and you didn't even want me around. And Mom came and sat with me. And she asked me how I was feeling. And I told her that. I told her, I just feel like he hates me. I feel like he doesn't even want me around. And it was hard. It was a hard moment, but it was the most powerful moment in my life, because Mom said to me, and she gave me the courage and strength to help myself. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. You got to help yourself. She told me, I can go tell him all of this, but it won't mean the same coming from me. It'll mean more if it comes from you. And you're not very far into your recovery. I mean, you are, in terms of the small steps you take. You're well into it. But I didn't know. There was still this fear of you all the time. And I came to you and I told you exactly how I felt. I said, Dad, when you yell at me like that, I feel like you hate me. And it was the first moment that I got honest with you and honest with myself and was real with you. And I saw you soften. I saw something in your face soften. And it took me finding that courage and Mom helping me find the courage. But ultimately I had to take the steps to go do that. And I said it to you and you softened. And that moment, I think, changed our entire relationship. And so I think helping yourself, taking care of you, is the most important thing you can do. You have to take care of you first. You cannot help anybody else in your life if you can't help yourself. And if you're not willing to help yourself or you can't see that, I just think it makes the path so much more difficult. So I took those steps. It healed our relationship. It allowed me to pass on what I learned through that experience at 9 years old, even to my family today, that you have to take responsibility for where you're at, and you have to take care of yourself. Can't blame other people. So I know that was long, but I think you have to take care of you, and then all these other things can fall into place. So communication, all that stuff you guys talked about, I 100% agree, and taking care of yourself is a big part of that.
Oh, that's a powerful story, Michael. It's not always easy to hear those things, but sometimes in recovery, the reality is there's not a lot of easy conversations to have in the beginning. They're very uncomfortable. It's scary as heck, and it doesn't matter if you're a family member or going through the process of addiction yourself. Getting vulnerable and having those kinds of conversations and realizing that this is a program of action for each and every one of us. We have to take action. We have to take care of ourselves, number one. And I think that's just a real powerful statement. Michael, way to go. How about you, Jonathan? What would you suggest for people?
Well, I just love everything that you've said. Randy, Leslie, Michael, Stephanie, like, it's just those are all good points. I'm kind of new to all this recovery stuff, right? I mean, I've heard this story, and my wife's had some experiences on her side. Her grandfather was an alcoholic who got sober, and it was amazing transformation for them and their family. And so I guess my mind kind of goes towards a couple of things. One is that there is a higher power that loves you and wants your life to be better. Like, that's just the reality. Like, that's just how it is. And I think that helps the next thing, which is to have hope. To have hope that that your life can get tremendously better. I've heard this story again and again. We've had a few episodes where we've had people come on and tell their story. And it's the same story. It's the same thing, which is they finally realize that their life is unmanageable and that they need to have a path and a program to get it back. And it's not about not drinking. It's about giving yourself hope, doing hard things, going through the fear that you have, and mending those relationships through accountability and responsibility and all those things that are in those steps. And it's just amazing to me. It's amazing to me that transformation can happen, and it is a miracle. It is from God. That's my opinion. That's my belief. That's my faith. And that's how I see it. And so I know that may not be palatable to a lot of people. And that's okay. But I think that's that first step I think you have to take, and that your life can get better through that and through hope. So give yourself the blessing of hoping for a better life, and then take action like we just heard. I think that's as much as I know, and I don't know a lot, so.
Wow. Those things are so powerful for everything, everything that we've talked about stuff. I think there's just so much power in us coming together and to have this conversation on a podcast. I think that, it's easy when somebody's sharing their recovery story to talk about, the family recovered and everything. I don't know very many forums that actually got together with their family members and said, these are the things that we've been able to accomplish. These are the things that we've gone through. I mean, my gosh, we got DNA story. We got, recovery story. I mean, we've got so much as a group to offer people and say that, we've got enough experience here among us that we could help a lot of people out there. And that's our goal. Michael and I talked the other day about it'd be so powerful because I've always had this passion to help people that are struggling with recovery, their families. I just don't know that there's a lot of places for families to go. You know, if you've got a family member that's struggling right now, and you've got no background in the program, you've got no background at all. Where do you go? Where do you start this process? Where do you find help out there? And I think that's a difficult thing for people to find good, honest help, which is available, but there's also so much crap out there. I mean, I've heard stories, horror stories. Randy had a friend of hers that called me that was going through some struggles with her husband. Her husband's addicted, and I've spent a couple hours on the phone with her, and she talked about her treatment center that she went through, or the treatment center he went through, and the family program that treatment center offered her. And she told me some stuff about that program, and I wanted to get them on the phone and ask them what the heck they're thinking, because it was horrible. There's not a lot of resources out there for families to find help, and I just want to tell the families that there's so much help. You know, obviously my family's together today talking about this because we care. You know, we want to be able to touch people out there and help people to walk through this thing called addiction, or walk through life together, because it's not. This applies to everybody in almost every situation. Michael talks about this all the time, you know, raising his family and his kids, and you know, the stuff that we talk about and the work that we do, we could apply it to just every aspect of our lives. And so if you've got family members out there and stuff, and Jonathan and I talk about this a lot, you know, reach out to us, talk to us. We'd be more than happy to walk you through the process. I know that, you know, I went to Al-Anon for about 20 years on a regular basis. Stephanie brought up codependency. I think that's a very, very important part of this equation, because I think every drunk's got 2 or 3 really, really good codependents that help them along the way. And sometimes they help them right to their death. I've seen that happen over and over and over again. And so codependency is a real big issue that we have to face. But none of this stuff is possible if you just sit on your butt, listen to things like this, and not take any action. This is a program of action, and we talk about that a lot. You know, to get off the couch and to actually pick up the phone or get online and start doing some research and finding ways to better yourself. It's not about figuring out how to make the drunk a better drunk. That doesn't even make sense, you know? It's about taking care of yourself. Trust me, when I got sober, one of the reasons I feel like I got sober is, you know, Elaine asked me to leave the house. I moved in with a friend, and that friend died. All my friends and all the people that I knew, my mother quit bailing me out of jail. You know, everybody was done with me. And what that did was it allowed me to just look at me. Because when everybody in my family and everybody that I knew was focusing on my alcoholism, I didn't have to. And when I started looking at myself, and I had nobody else to blame, no, you know, if she didn't nag, I wouldn't drink, you know, blah, blah, you know, you can blame everybody and everything. The reality is when I was all by myself and I had nobody to blame, I hit a bottom that was incredibly difficult, which was October of 1988. And that's when my life changed, you know, and as a result of that, everybody was done enabling me. So being a codependent is a very difficult thing to recognize in the beginning, and I think it's a real big thing to be able to get out of. A lot of Al-Anon meetings I've gone to, you go to an Al-Anon meeting, you sit down, and it seems like all they want to talk about is the alcoholic. it drives me absolutely nuts. Why are we at an Al-Anon meeting talking about the alcoholic? That's not the problem. The problem is us. What are we doing? And what can we get out of this group to give us the courage and the strength not to be codependent anymore, not to be held hostage by that alcoholic or that addict? I mean, how many of us have sit around and worried about our kids that are supposed to be home, an hour ago, and they're still not there? That feeling of having that alcoholic out there, whether it's your child or your husband or whoever, and not having a clue where they're at, what they're doing, who they're hurting, if they're hurting themselves, and that constant worry. And it's so difficult. I think Jonathan and I have talked about taking this podcast in that direction to really focus on helping families. And that's why I wanted to bring you guys all together, all of you all together, so that we could just share with people out there that hard work and love and that spiritual. I think you guys are so right on the money when you talk about that spiritual connection. I remember one night, Jonathan and I had dinner, and I was sharing one of my stories with him, and I just felt this overwhelming feeling of gratitude and love for the man. And I thought, how the heck, how did I get here? How am I sitting in this guy's house in Arizona, for heaven's sakes, having dinner? We just went to church. I went to church. I mean,
lightning didn't strike?
Yeah,
right where you stood?
The building's still there. Yeah, I just went there today. Yeah, it's still.
Okay, all right. Well,
I warned him when I walked in. This might be the end of this building, but but my point is I just felt so much love. I'm just so grateful that we've walked down this path, and come together. And you guys giving me, I am so proud of each and every one of you. I can't even tell you how proud I am. Every time I hear one of you call me dad, because I had to learn that. I had to learn how to be a dad. That's not something that just happened for me. I had to work at it. And that might sound cruel, that might be mean, but I think that you guys know what I'm talking about. I've had to earn that position.
Well,
You've earned it.
There's nothing
Really,
like
really old dad.
last sleep.
it's so good, and then it just turned a corner right there.
Sorry, I'm a corner turner.
Well, she knew I was going to get emotional, so she tried to. I know what she's up to. She's good at it. But anyway, I just love you guys so much, and so proud of each and every one of you. It's incredible to be an old fart like me sitting in Thailand, sitting in Thailand on the other side of the planet, and just have so much love for my family. And you guys are so important to me in my process. None of this would be even worth it. Why stay sober if, it's just for me? But hopefully we can give it to other people and allow other people to have the same experiences. Because, and I often say this in our podcast, that, this is for everybody. God doesn't love one of us more than he loves the other one. We're all in the same position. The opportunities that were given to me are available to everybody out there. Mm-hmm. It's just up to you whether you're going to get off your butt and take some action and grab a hold of these opportunities, because I think opportunities come to each and every one of us every day, and we have choices to make. What path we're going to take? Are we going to do the next right thing? Are we going to do an easier thing, an easier, softer way? Or are we going to You know, we're gonna face reality and walk through this thing. And you know, I've tried to make the choices that I'm gonna walk through hard stuff, and I'm gonna face hard stuff. And some days that is impossible. You know, Michael brought up a point, and I just want to finish with this, is Michael brought up a point. He'd been listening to the podcast and said, you know, I just think that you've got to tell people that this wasn't an easy thing. This didn't happen overnight. It wasn't all roses. It all wasn't easy. You know, I had a lot of bumps along the way. I mean, this was not an easy path by any means. It was a lot of work, and I failed. You know, I don't want to say failed because I don't feel like I ever failed. I had struggles along the way, you know, where I had to once again get off the ground, brush myself off, and move forward. And none of that's possible without prayer. I pray a lot. I know you guys don't believe it, but I do pray a lot. And I think that spiritual power, whatever that is, it makes all of this possible. Somebody said it better than I said it earlier, but anyway, I think we've had an episode.
Well, I want to say one last thing.
Please.
Let me just say one more thing.
You always talk. Let someone.
I am so proud of all of you to act like adults and everything for almost an hour.
Oh.
I'm so shocked. I hardly slept last night worrying how am I
Oh,
gonna,
whatever.
how am I going to hurt all these cats? You know, I mean,
Oh, whatever.
like taking
Takes
your
one to
kids
know
to
one.
the. Man,
We had a pre-call before this.
That's right.
We all
We all
decided
this is what we're gonna do.
we're all going to control the old man, and then it'll go fine.
Control the old man. Uh-huh.
Michael, you had something you wanted to share?
Yeah, it was just you said something in there, Dad, during that little monologue. No, it was good. You said something powerful, and I just wanted to touch on it, and because I think it's super important. We're talking about recovery, and you said that what would be the purpose if I was just doing this for me? What would be the point? And that was one of the biggest things, or one of the most important things I think you said today in here, because there's people out there listening that are struggling, and they're having an issue, and they don't know how to take that step forward. We are not designed to be alone. We weren't created that way. We weren't designed to be alone.
Yep.
And you've mentioned many times, this disease wants to isolate you and put you by yourself. And when it does that, it's got you, and it will kill you. And so when you're making that decision, just think of all the people around you. And I know we've been saying it in this podcast, in this episode, that's what this has kind of been about. But really think about those people in your life, because that love that we crave, that community that we crave, that you lose when this disease takes a hold of you, is so important. Look at what we have right here. All these people sitting here on this podcast. I mean, do it for those people that you love, whether you believe you can ever have their love back. Do it for those people, and do it for yourself, because you're going to be happier. You're going to be healthier. I mean, you were working whatever job you could get. You were a delivery boy, right? The beginning of this thing. You did what you had to do to get by. And that wasn't a glorious or glamorous lifestyle that you were living, but you did what you had to do. And now look, you know, you go to Thailand every year, and it seems like the time frame gets longer and longer and longer. Maybe one day you'll never come back, but you put yourself in a position to be able to experience life the way you want to experience it. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the work you put in. I love you. And you did all this for yourself and everybody around you, and it brought all this and made all this possible. So do it for those people in your life that you love, and in the hopes that you can have that love returned to you. It's a big deal. Those people that walk through that door on day one, I went to one of Dad's meetings where he was accepting a chip. Those people that walk through that door on day one who are terrified and don't know where to go and don't know where to turn, that is the most important thing you could do, is step through those doors. That's just one little step, one little action step you took that has the potential to change generations. So that's it. I just wanted to touch on that.
Very good.
Love it. Love it. Well, I think that's a wrap. This was so good. Thank you all for spending some time with us on this podcast. I want to do more of these. Like, this is crazy cool. I just love it. So watch for another text coming your way.
No, that's all you get. You get one shot.
That'll say one-time deal. But if so, it was worth it. So glad. So everybody out there, podcast land, thank you again for listening. And remember that hope is possible, and you can help each other and certainly push yourself and others to the top. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Push Each Other to the Top. Brent's story is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there's still a path forward and someone willing to walk it with us. If this episode meant something to you, share it. And if you're struggling right now, please know you're not alone. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss the next story. And if you can, leave a quick review. It helps more people find these conversations. New episodes drop soon. We hope you'll come back. Continue listening for behind the scenes moment after we ended the episode.
I thought of a quick story that the lives that Dad has touched is wild, and how we joke around with him here. And I know they joke and tease each other. I was helping him move one time, and he had all of his little cronies show up to help move. Philip was there, and there were some other people there. And I cracked a joke about him, about Dad. I don't even know what the comment was. Something like, man, for all this, it was something along the lines of, I can't believe you guys would show up and help this guy. They did not smile. They didn't think it was funny. They were about to have me go sleep with the fishes. They did not like that, because and that shows the impact. That's the impact that he's had on people's lives, which is something we don't get to see every day. But it's just, I think they responded very seriously. One of them said, "You have no idea how many lives this man has saved. He saved my life. He saved other people's lives." So
Yeah, I want to hear those
pretty
stories.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
No,
the
when-
word, the key phrase is people he's touched. That's why we're all
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Leslie, you had to go there.